Newcastle United managed to achieve the unthinkable and go head to head with the league leaders and get the 1-1. The big question now is, can they do the same against Brentford? Find out here on Toon Tactics TV, folks.
Oh, brilliant from Cher. And now Murphy can take on the shot. Fabian Cher
Good evening, good evening, good evening, folks. How are you all doing? How are you all doing? Thank you, thank you. I hope you guys are having a blessed evening and are doing well. You could have been anywhere else in the world, but you chose to be here. Let me know where you guys are listening from. I'm trying to fix my mic here. Let me know where you folks are listening from. Are you about to go off on a late night shift? Coming back from a late night shift? Are you just about to get yourself to sleep and you need to hear some tactical match review, some tactical breakdown for the Brentford game? Do let me know. But today we're going to do a bit of a, once I fix my mic, just give me a moment, folks. Oh, can I fix my mic here? Can you guys hear me? Where are we? Where are we? Here we go. Let me know where you guys are listening from. Let me know what you guys are up to. So I'm going to do today a brief match review for the incredible game against Liverpool, and we're going to do a merge that with a tactical preview for the Brentford game. Now, the games are coming thick and fast. I think we're going to have about 6 games in the next 2 weeks, something like that, something along those lines. So, you know, it's going to be a big challenge for Eddie Howe and the boys to be from kind of squad rotation point of view, keeping the consistency going, being able to be getting results and performances going. I mean, even against Liverpool, the midfield who were absolutely magnificent, essentially were really ran their socks off, and I think was it last 10-20 minutes to both Tonali, Joe Linton, not Bruno. So there was a third person, I think might have been Bruno. They're all taken off, and a whole new midfield had to be brought on as well. So a lot happened in that game. It was absolutely fantastic. I'm going to show a few things in that game that I really liked, and I'm hoping to see in the Brentford game myself. And I'm going to first let's just do a quick kind of let me bring this on the screen. Kind of a little overview, statistical overview over the game, and then I'm going to show a few of the highlights because look, the Palace game earlier, we kind of went through it together. The overall overarching theme in that game, obviously, no shots on target, is because of my big takeaway from that was there was no shot on target and the biggest issue was obviously the creative side of the game, and the reason for the lack of creation in my point of view was a lack of confidence once the team got into the towards the box. Even Eddie Howe said, look, he was pleased in that game and many facets of the game and our approach play, some of our kind of playing or whatnot, kind of but once he got to the box, everything seemed to stop. And he wasn't wrong. And I know that a lot of people thought he was deluding his takes. They thought the whole game was rubbish. And I understand where they're coming from. But I watched the game twice. And that was my key take. I think Eddie Howe was right. Our approach play was decent. We're very good at playing out from out the back. But for some reason or another, once we got to that final third, or even to the final or to the box, we wouldn't make that decisive pass into the box. We ignored runs. Or when we did get into the box, our final decision making wasn't great. But that was and so that cost us. That was the Palace game. The Liverpool game was a totally different story, thank goodness. And I was very pleased with a lot of aspects of it. But look, let me make sure you guys can see this on the screens. This is on SofaScore. Again, obviously, three goals scored for Newcastle United. Totally different. Both Gordon and Isak on the score sheet. I think Bruno Guimaraes got 2 assists in that as well, which was absolutely fantastic for us as well. Isak as well got a goal and an assist. Again, creative. You can see here, for instance, the attacking momentum. Newcastle in the green. Primarily, obviously, we dominated the first half. And we'll probably give Liverpool a little bit of the second half, but I think overall, I believe Newcastle were more than deserving to be winners in that game. I do feel, for instance, Van Dijk should have been sent off for his shoulder barge into Gordon's face. I think Newcastle should have got a penalty again. I think it was on Kwanzaa's challenge on Isak, for instance. So, and obviously the whistle being blown in the final when Newcastle were like 2-on-1, I think 2-on-1, 2-on-2 against Liverpool in those final stages, which is absolutely incredible that the whistle was blown at that stage. Isak and I think Willock bearing down on goal with only Kwanzaa, I think, or Gomez was it at the back as well. It was insane that they blew the whistle. But it kind of shows as well in that final moment I wanted to say is, for instance, Pope could have held on to the ball and not released it, for instance, and been glad to get the draw. But the fact that he said, nah, within the first few seconds, as soon as he got the ball, let's go and try and win the game. It showed me the attitude. It showed me the mentality that we weren't there to survive against Liverpool. We were there to beat Liverpool. And I love that mentality. I love that attitude. It was a totally different attitude and confidence compared to that Palace game. But look, obviously, that you said about the attacking momentum, we dominated the first half. Second half was a little bit more to Liverpool's side in terms of attacking momentum, but you wouldn't be able to tell if you're watching the game itself. I think both sides were giving it as good as they got. Proper Premier League game. I love what the commentators were saying. They were fairly neutral, the ones I had, and they were like, "It feels like I'm watching." They said, "This is what they said. It feels like I'm watching a football highlight." But this is the entire 90 minutes. They were so happy. They were like, it was it's a great footballing event, really, football game. And got a little bit of coldish, snoogie bugs there, but it was great to hear that. It was a spectacle, and people enjoyed it. And so, look, in terms of, I'm going to go to the individual player stats in a moment, but for instance, overall, 41% possession to us, 59 to Liverpool. Expected goals 2.09 to us, 1.99 to Liverpool. And obviously, we both scored 3 goals each, 4 each in terms of chances created. 17 shots, guys, against Liverpool. Whereas, I don't know. I'll keep talking about the Palace game. It's incredible, the turnaround. It's insane. 17 shots against the league leaders, as opposed to what happened against Palace, and 16 shots to Liverpool. Our goalkeeper had to make 2 saves. Their goalkeeper had to make 3. 5 corners to us, 6 corners to Liverpool. There's the passing stats as well. It was just really, really good from us. Really good from us. Big chances scored, 2 from us, 1 from them. Big chances missed, 2 from us, 3 from them. Through balls, 3 footballs. Listen, touches in the penalty area, 21 for us, 35 from them. So we both spent a lot of time in each other's half. Final third entries. This is the big one, because final third entries is essentially the amount of times not a team gets into the final third necessarily, but a team is able to pass the ball in the opposition half. 43 to us, 44 to Liverpool. So when I say we gave as good as we took, that's exactly what happened. We went toe to toe with the league leaders, and we almost came out on top. It was so pleasing to see. Long balls there, 42% of them were accurate, 37% to Liverpool. So Jules won 52% to us, 48% to them. Fantastic. Again, that kind of indicates the intensity, the aggression that we put onto them, especially in that first half. It was absolutely incredible in my view. Aerials, Jules won 50%. Each dribbles, which we didn't see against Palace in my view, 57%. So we attempted 21 dribbles. 12 of them were successful. Really, really good. Really good from us. Really won. 71% of our tackles won as opposed to their 57. We was bang at it. Absolutely bang at it. It was really, really good to see. Interceptions, 5 to us, 10 to them. So just overall, really, really good stuff from us. I guess you leave this type of game thinking, okay, so why such a big difference between Liverpool and Palace? And essentially, um, and again, another top six team. So far this season, I'm gonna go here to the player statistics and kind of talk about individual stuff. But in terms of the again top six sides, we've played five of them already. Just Man United to go, but we've beaten Tottenham, we've beaten Arsenal. We have drawn against Man City. We have drawn against. We lost to Chelsea. We've drawn to Liverpool. Yeah, we've drawn to Liverpool. So again, really, really good kind of um, uh, kind of in terms of what we've got back from those games. But again, the teams on the lower side of the table is where we need to really improve. And I understand, and we're going to see something from the Brentford against Brentford, who are a really good team, but. We struggle against teams. Brentford don't necessarily fit into this categories. We kind of do the tactical breakdown on there, but the point I'm trying to make, for instance, against Palace, against West Ham, teams where they kind of, unlike Liverpool, for instance, where they don't necessarily press as much. West Ham and Crystal Palace, where they keep really tight lines. Newcastle really struggle to break those down, and so we need to be able to find a way to kind of break those type of games down and make sure that we win. Apologies again, guys, for the sniffles. I tried to avoid them, but drank all this tea and everything else, but we're getting there. Right. So individual performances, especially from the attacking side, which was really good to see. Let me make sure you guys can see that. Maybe I'll zoom in a little bit. Ian McKenna, Snotty, absolutely. And but I'm pleased to see you guys. There was no way I was going to give this up. You can see the winter is setting in. The winter is setting in, and all the flus and bugs are flying around. Right, so attacking side. But welcome, Ian. Good to see you. Let me know what you thought of the game. Shots on target, something that we weren't able to achieve against Palace, but did achieve against Liverpool, thankfully. Anthony Gordon with 2, Alexander Isak with 1, and one of them, that one was a... that was world class from Isak, and the fantastic performance as well from him. I forgot who they crowned man of the match for that game. I think to me, there were so many contenders. Isak, Bruno, Tonali. That was probably Tonali's best game for Newcastle United, in my opinion. Let me know what you think. Gordon was looking like the Gordon of 23, 24, and we're going to talk about the reasons for that as well. Absolutely fantastic from him. Fabian Schär obviously shot on target. Sandro Tonali got a shot on target in that first half, showing his dancing feet was absolutely phenomenal. But it's all good to see from the kind of attacking side of things again. So I think that equals about how many shots on target? 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 shots on target from Newcastle. Absolutely fabulous from us. That's 6 more than we did against. I'm gonna keep going again. I got about the Palace game. That's 6 more than we thought we got against the Palace game. Yes, Ian, exactly. I thought it was a fantastic game. Brilliant. Not just obviously from how we performed, which was excellent, but I can only imagine from the neutral standpoint that it was an incredible spectacle. I was hearing the commentators. I've heard rival fans talking about it as well, kind of referring to it as if you watch football in the 90s like I did, this is what it harkened back to. Like this was football. This is football. Good. I had expected goals from us for Anthony Gordon and others. In terms of the attacking side, really good to see dribble attempts, which I was disappointed not to see that. I have to keep on comparing to the Palace game because, again, the turnaround is phenomenal and frustrating at the same time. Anthony Gordon attempted 5 dribbles, 3 of them successful. Isak attempted 9 dribbles, 5 of them successful. Bruno 2, and then obviously a little bit goes a bit low, but just good stuff from us, just making things happen, creating things. Absolutely phenomenal defensive actions. Obviously, that's everything in terms of tackling, interceptions, and everything else. Um, Tino Livramento, 8 defensive actions, 5 of them clearances, 1 block, for instance, tackles, 2 dribbles, attempts. With a phenomenal performance from him and from our defense. Really, 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 really good. Dan Burn, 7, kept Nunes quiet. Absolutely phenomenal from him. Lewis Hall, what can I say about Lewis Hall? And we're going to talk about Lewis Hall actually a little bit in this game as well. Phenomenal in the highlights, especially we focused in on that left side through Lewis Hall. We talked about from the guys that watched this before, is in order for Newcastle, we created a lot of the overloads from that left side, which allowed, so when Lewis Hall pushed up, it allowed Gordon to go to tuck in on the inside. So he loves that, Gordon. Yes, he can be on the touchline, but he wants the option of either being on the touchline or being on the inside. So he can either turn or pass or shoot. So he loves that type of options. Gordon. He gets frozen out of games if he's left with kind of very limited options where he's only on that touchline. And if he's got players around him, which he did, Lewis Hall supporting him, Joe Linton from the 8 position, Isak, Gordon just came alive. Gordon just came alive, and it was absolute. And I think a big factor of that is Lewis Hall coming to support, but also the 8s. Our 8s coming into play, which was Joe Linton, which was Tonali. No, yeah, Tonali was 8 and 6, but Bruno, especially in that 8, making incisive passes. I want to see that more from Bruno. I want to see that. I'll keep talking about the highlights. I'm going to show the highlights in a moment. It was absolutely fantastic from Bruno. Really, really good to see. Defensive actions, passing. Again, and I bet you I haven't seen the passing actions yet, but I'm going to make a bet. I'm going to make a prediction that it's either Lewis Hall or Bruno who had the most touches in this game. I'm going to make a prediction that either Lewis Hall or Bruno had the most touches in this game. Lewis Hall. Lewis Hall had 67 touches in this game, 78% passing accuracy, which is a bit lower than usual. I wonder if that's because he was taking a lot more risks with the ball, trying to make things happen, which what we wasn't doing in the Crystal Palace game. So I'm not too disappointed or sad to see 78% possession, where he typically gets 85% and up. I think it's 78% because he took a lot more risks with the ball. And you can see that with the fact that he's got 2 key passes, which 2 key passes usually indicates passes that created shot creating actions. And Lewis Hall had 2 of those. So 67 touches from him. Fabian Schär with 60. He was phenomenal, Fabian Schär. What do you guys think of Fabian Schär's performance? I thought he was absolutely phenomenal in that game. Roll back the years. Push. We talked about, again, if you guys saw my review of the Crystal Palace game, and I know this didn't happen all the time, but at least there was a lot more trying from Fabian and from Burn to push the line up. And he did the best he could, and he did that more and more into that game, and it enabled him to make more and more incisive passes into the box. And again, I'll keep on saying the highlights. I'll get to the highlights in a moment. And he did that really, really well, in my opinion. Then Tino, 59 touches on the ball. Anthony Gordon, 55 guys. Typically, over the season that I've seen, Gordon gets between 30 to 40 touches on the ball. That's even a little bit high, I bet. 25 to 35 touches on the ball, typically this season. So the fact that he got 55 touches shows you just how involved he was in the game. 54 touches from Tonali, who again gets about up to 40 typically. So again, you can see that our front 6 players in particular, Bruno, Tonali, Gordon, they're touching the board. Isak, Murphy, brilliant. We're very, very involved. Isak, 48 touches. Joe Linton, 48 touches. Bruno, 44 touches. Now, this is very interesting because Bruno is typically up there with Lewis Hall. And I think the difference for Bruno this time is that his role was different. He wasn't the deep line playmaker. Primarily, that was Tonali. That's why he's got a little bit more touches. But they weren't holding the ball as much. It was pretty much give and go. And Bruno was in that 8. He was in the advanced area, and his whole thing was to make key passes. He got 2 key passes. Let me see who made. I'll get that at the moment in terms of who made key passes. I'm going to do that actually now. Key passes. So key passes are shot passes that created shot creating actions. Isak 5. He was on fire. You know what? For me, he was man of the match. He created 1 big chance. Anthony Gordon 3 big. Bruno 2. Lewis Hall 2. So this is our creative side. So that's 8, 10, 12 passes that were made between our 4 players, including Jacob Murphy's 13, that create shot created actions. If we do this against Palace, we would have won that game 4-5-0. Again, making things happen. It was absolutely terrific to see, in my opinion. Jules, we talked about the intensity. We beat Liverpool on the Jules side of things. Overall, what did I do here? I messed it up here. Let me get it back to the player statistics. Jules 1. This is the overall Jules, which Jules 1, which is aerial and ground Jules. Isak 16 he competed for, 6 of those he won, but it's incredible they compete for so many. Bruno Gomes 14 he competed for, 7 of those he won, really incredible. Anthony Gordon 13 he competed for, 9 of those he won. Fantastic, amazing shift he put in. Incredible. Joe Linton 12 he attempted, 8 he won. Sandro Tonali 9, 4 he won. Tino Livramento 9, 3 he won. Lewis Hall 6, 4 he won. Really good start. Fabian Shaw 4 attempted 4, 1 4. He had a fantastic time. So the levels, the intensity, the aggression, the incisiveness into the final third entries in this game from Newcastle United was absolutely phenomenal. And before I get into, I had a whole host of highlight reels. I'm going to probably show 2 or 3 things that really pleased about me. That I was really pleased about once I get my phone open, or maybe that I was really pleased about from this game that was so different to the Palace game. And I'm hoping that we take into the Brentford game. And we're going to have to, because Brentford, who although are one of the highest scoring teams in the league, play with really tight lines, and they get themselves really congested in the middle, really compact in the middle, forcing the opponents wide, as the game for many teams, forcing the opponents wide. And so that once they get the ball, they can transition really quickly, especially through central areas. And we'll talk, and that's part of the reason why they've been scoring so many goals. So Newcastle are gonna have to be very. They're gonna have to take risks. They're gonna have to show this attitude, this aggressive attitude, and take a risk type of attitude in this game also. So let me try and get to the highlights. But before I do, I'll take it off here. Let me read the comments. Let me see what you guys are saying so far. I'm so happy about the game that I'm almost forgetting about my cold. Ian McKenna, the difference was Liverpool came to win. We struggle against teams who just want a draw. Yeah, or Palace were afraid. Like I don't blame them. They were afraid, but we just needed to take more risks against them. I agree with you, Ian. Maybe a creative number 10 is needed. Yeah, and I think, but yes, I wouldn't say no. Obviously, I think in the current state, if we're not going to get a creative number 10, because I think we've got enough in the squad to be able to do something with that, in my opinion. But I do agree that we need them creative players, definitely. McKenna, but PSR and all that. That PSR. I was meant to send a short, guys, because speaking of PSR, I don't know if you guys saw the news from the Iron newspaper, Mark Douglas, and everybody knows that Mark, and we've talked about Mark Douglas before, he's the gentleman who had the 90-minute interview with Paul Mitchell. And I say this all the time, that when I feel like when Mark Douglas says sources in Newcastle, he's referring to Paul Mitchell or people around Paul Mitchell. Anyway, why I raised this, I don't know if you guys saw this. He's released many articles recently, but recently he talked about the possibility of Newcastle selling Harvey Barnes and the likes of Sean Longstaff. The idea was sort of floated out there, and I feel like that was a kind of a slow. That was, what's the word they say? Like a testing of the waters, testing the market. I feel like Paul Mitchell or the people around him were testing the market and saying, "Hey, look, guys, if anybody was interested in Harvey Barnes, if you guys were to make a phone call, it's not that we wouldn't pick up the phone. We might pick up the phone and listen. If you guys were listening to Harvey Barnes." So I say that to say this: would you guys sell Harvey Barnes? And this is obviously in the context of PSR. Now, the left side, we've got Gordon there. I don't like it, but Joe Linton can play there. I don't want to play Joe Linton there, but we've got Gordon there who can play on that left side, obviously. Willett can play on that left side. So essentially, we've got a little bit of an overload, though I prefer it. I prefer Joe Linton not to play on that side, for instance. But if we were to sell again PSR, if we were to sell Harvey Barnes, we would obviously be able to spend on a quality right wing forward. I.e., obviously we saw the recent news today about Boyaka. Is it Boyaka? Johan Boyaka, Bukayo, Johan Bukayo, and we've talked about the transfers before. If we're able to do that, what do you guys think? To me, it feels like obviously a step back, but maybe a step 0.5 forward, if that makes sense. Would you sell Harvey Barnes? Is the question. Would you sell Harvey Barnes if it helped out PSR and allowed us to buy more players? That's the big question. Let me know. Ginger Hoskin, amazing game. Amazing game. And welcome, Ginger Hoskin. I don't know if you've been on here before, but really great to have you, sir. Hope you are well. Ginger Hoskin says, amazing game, but 2 points out the last 9. 2 points out the last 9? Oh, out the last 9. Oh, because we lost. Okay. 2 points out of the last 9. Yeah. Philip, we need to start winning games and watch the last goal. Why was Dan Burn in right back? Okay. Yeah. Oh, we should have won. I feel like we could have won the game. Absolutely. And if I hadn't talked so much, I probably would have been able to show the last goal as well. But we'll see. Brilliant though. But we do need to start winning. What I'm hoping actually, Ginger Hoskins, is, if you remember before the international break, the final 3 games, I think it was, when we beat Chelsea in the League Cup, then we beat Arsenal 1-0, then we beat Forest 3-1. It felt like we were now really beginning to gather momentum. We were really beginning to grow. I'm hoping that we're finally reaching that particular arc now as we're going into the Brentford game. The Brentford game will tell me a lot. Are we going to see the similar type of performance and results, hopefully, as we saw against Nottingham Forest away? If we do get that, and I know now there's no international break to hamper our momentum, and if we get a result, a good performance, then a good result, i.e. a win, preferably, I'm going to start getting really excited. And I think we can start winning games. Ginger Hoskins, sometimes I think fans forget we need points, not free draws. Philip, like I said, amazing attack defense. Dan Burn was out of position for all the goals. Will it end? So can we not overrate it if we need wins? No, I agree in terms of, for me, Ginger Hoskins. Let me know what you think going into this Liverpool game on the back of drawing to Palace and getting no shots on target, losing to West Ham, who are getting folded like a decking chair to Leicester and everybody else and Arsenal. Going into this Liverpool game, a lot of people, including myself, even though I predicted a 2-1 win, were not anticipating or believed that it was a very low probability that we would get anything from this game. So me personally, I was more focused on a good performance from Newcastle, a much better performance. I don't know if you saw my review of the Palace game, which is the stream before this. and I was infuriated, especially on our creative side of the game. And so we can't in any game we can't control what the result's going to be, but we can control our performance. And we got a big performance. We got a really big performance. We can't control the fact that the referee didn't see the penalty we should have got against Isak. That we should have got Van Dijk should have been sent off. Eddie Howe can't control the fact that Gordon again doesn't score from a 1v1 situation. He needs to improve on those. He was absolutely deadly last year. Last year, when Gordon was one of the keeper, that was a man with conviction, and he's getting better. He'll get there as well. So I say that to say this: I was looking for a big performance against Liverpool, and I knew that we couldn't control the result, and we got a big performance. What I'm hoping for going into the Brentford game is, as I said, is the same thing that we got against Forest, which is a good away performance and hopefully a good result as well. And that's when I just hope we start picking up points. But yeah, great point, Ginger Hoskins. Ian McKenna, at Ginger Hoskins, that's at Ginger Hoskins. Have you seen Liverpool's away record this season, which is really good? We need a bit of a miracle over said a moment. And Hunter, good to see you. So hope you are well. Thoughts on Tonali as a 6 and 8. Hunter, I thought Tonali had a fantastic game, and he looked like he got the bit between the teeth. He looked like a man who understood his role in the team, and played it absolutely perfectly. Perfectly. He was in the 6 and 8, you're correct. I think Joe Linton and Bruno were more fixed eights, especially Bruno, who was more of an advanced, and hence the 2 assists that he got as well. And Tonali's role was to be to be yes, to be creative in the final third, but uh, more than Bruno and the others was to also, obviously, like you said, being at a 6 role, pick up the ball. The centre backs trusted him more as well to pick up the ball, so they passed the ball to him as well. So he was able to play out the back. Because he was doing that, it allowed Bruno to be in a more advanced position. Hence, again, the 2 assists that he got. So Tonali on the ball, fantastic. Off
Here
the
they
ball.
are,
Whoa,
Bruno,
goodness, what's going on here? I need
next
to take this
to a
off.
young mascot.
Uh,
Steps over the white
uh,
line.
Brilliant. Off the ball, fantastic again. Some of his recovery runs. I know he let us down a little bit. Well, he didn't let us down for the Curtis Jones goal. He kind of underestimated Jones's pace and stuff like that. Just maybe fell asleep a little bit, but overall was very, 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 very good. And the fact that we won 52% of the ground duels. Overall duels against Liverpool shows us that we were intensive. We were very, very good in terms of off the ball as well. And Tonali was a massive, massive part of that. I thought he was absolutely brilliant. Okay, one more comment before I go into the highlights. I really went over my time there, so I wanted to. There was a number of highlights I wanted to show. I kind of reduced them into a couple, really. Again, Ginger Hoskins, Philip, did you watch Eddie Howe's interview with Simon Jordan? I think I was meant to. I fell asleep today. I needed some sleep. I'm going to. I saw some of the highlights to it though, but it was fantastic. Let me see what you said. Philip, did you watch Eddie Howe's interview with Simon Jordan? Simon Jordan. He openly said Newcastle cannot be a big club with the finances of top sides. Look, teams that generally get to spend the most money, in particularly on wages. I can't remember if people saw the grass that the clubs that pay for the most wages are typically in the highest positions in the league. And at the moment, with the restrictions that we have, that is what's hurting us. And people who are pro the current PSR rules will say, like, for instance, if you're a Man United supporter, you will say, well, we've for the last 100+ years we've making good decisions, hence why our PSR status and everything else is really good. What I'll say to that is there's a free kind of there's a triangle, there's a free a vicious a good a cycle of we want to be a successful side. How do you want to be a successful side? Um, uh, we've got to have a high revenue. we're going to have a high revenue. How do you get a high revenue? Well, you're going to be a successful side. How do you be a successful side? You need to buy players. How do you buy players? You need to have a high revenue. So revenue, players, and you need to you need to be a successful side, i.e., win trophies and stuff like that. It's the revenue part that's hurting Newcastle. We can't be in the position that we like to be in, competing for the cups and stuff like that, because we are being hamstrung by the revenue side of things, which stops us from buying the players that we want. And if it is all about sustainability, our owners can afford to buy those players. So, like, loosen up a little bit. And I think it needs a bit of reform. It needs a bit of an upgrade, and we need to grow from it. So, at the same time, though, I think Newcastle have also got to. At the same time, though, I don't know if, again, I did a stream on our transfer business of the summer that had gone, and I merged that with what Paul Mitchell's plans are for the summer. And I know that I saw a clip where, again, Eddie Howe's defending the transfer strategy, but he defends it from a point of view of, we got the right talent of players, the right profile of players. I stand by the fact that our players are good, and I agree with him. They are good. We did get the right, even down to, for instance, Chris Wood and Matt Target, that people don't rate. They were the right players because they got us to stay up. But when Paul Mitchell said our transfer strategy is not fit for purpose, it's in the context of PSR. And what he's saying was, especially from our selling point part, we're absolutely dreadful at selling. And he used the example of, and he doesn't just mean like, oh, we held on to players like, I don't know, Murphy, Callum Wilson. He doesn't mean it from that point of view. He also means it from the point of, for instance, Liverpool. Liverpool in this summer transfer window didn't buy any players, by the way. They only got Chiesa, I think, for 10 million, something like that. Liverpool sold a gentleman called Vandenberg and Fabio Carvalho for a combined fee of 50 million. Now, those are players who never really impacted their first team, but they were sell to buy players, essentially. They bought them in the last 2-3 years, loaned them out, so increased their market value, but also earned money through their loan fees, and then sold them on in this window for a combined fee of 50 million. That 50 million would add to their ability to now buy players, bigger players in the transfer window. And they sold those two players who don't impact their first team. So they don't have to sell big players. They bought players, raised them up, and sold them on, just like Brighton do, just like Brentford do, just like everybody else do. And that has enabled them to buy better players. So my point is, and Paul Mitchell's point is, we've got to sell better. We've got to start applying some of these strategies that have helped other teams, massive teams like Liverpool, less massive teams like Brighton and Brentford, who have been doing this sort of buying and selling for years. And we've got to apply that to Newcastle United as well, to be able to be moving in the market. So two things are true at the moment. Yes, PSR is hamstrung the teams like Newcastle United, and I believe that a lot of those rules, a lot of those regulations, which were voted on by clubs who have their own selfish self-interests, i.e., the top 6 clubs who don't want clubs like Newcastle to move into their bracket, but also clubs like Brighton and others who don't want Newcastle to move away from them too far either. They've hamstrung Newcastle. At the same time, Newcastle themselves, from a PSR point of view, have not been moving smartly in the market as they used to be, as they should have done. Even, for instance, in this window, the Mark Gahey situation. Yes, Eddie Howe really wanted Mark Gahey. Yes, Mark Gahey is a very, 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 very good defender. But he's not the only defender. And I know Eddie Howe will argue that he went for other players, but I'm sure Paul Mitchell came in and said, hey, how about Tapsoba? How about Kasanu? How about this? How about Kusanov, who we're looking at now, 20-year-old or whatnot? And Eddie Howe said no to all of them. So we could have got a right centre back already, but Eddie Howe, I believe Eddie Howe didn't really want to take a risk on the overseas players. And also, maybe some of the right wing forwards as well. So I want to see Newcastle move smarter in the market as well. I think we could have done better in the transfer window, especially selling wise. If you look at our history, especially since the takeover, the first winter after the October takeover in that January, we spent 100 million. Fine, and we didn't sell anybody. Fine, we needed to avoid relegation. That summer, we spent 180 million on transfers. Do you know how many we sold? How many players we sold? Zero. We sold 0 players in that summer window. Why did we not sell anybody? How does that even make sense that we did not sell anybody? So that's that. As a result of those decisions, that impacted us, or what happened in the last 2 windows, this summer window and the last January window, where oh gosh, it's gone off again.
Next to a young mascot.
Where essentially this summer window, as everybody knows, we had to sell Elliot Anderson. God bless him, he stepped up for us, and Minte, who would be our right wing forward right now. How annoying is that? So how do we make better decisions, for instance, in the window where we sort of, if we had Paul Mitchell then, he would have said, hey guys, we spent 180 million, we have to sell somebody or some other players. And instead of what happened this window, where we had to make a phone call to Anthony Gordon and say, Anthony, apologies, you did get 20 plus GNA for us, but we have to sell you to Liverpool because we didn't look after our PSR situation. So I want us to do better. I want us to move smarter in the transfer market before I solely blame PSR and the big 6 teams for why Newcastle can't compete. I think there's a big problem with how it is, but I also think there's a big problem with how Newcastle have been very bad, very, very bad in selling. And part of that was, it's not necessarily Eddie Howe's fault per se, but he was part of that team that just looking for the caliber of play. He's doing what a manager should do, which is get the best players he can, but he's not necessarily thinking about the longer term, the that's going to impact Newcastle in the longer term. He's thinking about the players he needs now, and that cost us. And that cost us in the end. It nearly cost us Anthony Gordon. Paul Mitchell was thinking about the next 5-6 transfer windows. He's not just thinking about this window. He's thinking about the next 5-6 transfer windows, getting players, selling players, and then looking for gems overseas and developing them and seeing what can happen. He can't just be players from the Premier League. Sorry about that, Hoskins. I went on one essentially, but I just think we can do more. I just think Newcastle can do more. If Newcastle were as good as selling and buying players like Brighton and Brentford, imagine the players that we could have right now. So I'm going to go into the highlights. Apologies, guys. I really, really, really apologize. And then there's a few comments here as well. Let me read the comments first, and I'll go into the highlights. I'm dwindling them out. I had about 4 or 5 highlights I wanted to show. I'm going to show 1 or 2 before I go to the tactical breakdown for Brentford, because actually we're going to do a match preview for Brentford as well. But you guys got such fantastic questions as always that I'm just like compelled to kind of answer all of them. Ginger Hoskins, have you seen our wages are the 8th highest in the league right now? So we pay more than we pay more than Spurs in wages than Spurs. I have to see that one. We pay more than was that this year? I can't imagine that we pay more than Spurs. Maybe we do that. We've got a few star players, and this season we're going to see if we finish higher than Spurs. That'll be interesting. I think have they lost today? I think we might finish higher than Spurs this season. Ginger Hoskins, Philip, winning and getting revenue, and we don't have the cash to buy players, so we are stuck. Like I said, I think maybe you said this when I was talking, but yeah, we've got to sell better. Philip, I watched a video the other day stating that they have stating where have the hungry strikers gone? Because 10 years ago there were over 50 top strikers. Now it seems there aren't any left. I don't know. It depends in terms of this. Oh, back in the this kind of thing. Back in the day, there were better players, there were better strikers. Yada 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 yada. Yet, if you look into the season, into the last 10 years, there's been more goals, there've been more assists, been more creative stuff. I just think people have, in my view, are reminisce about the back in the day stuff a lot more, and we've got so many talented players this season. Look at the game that we've just had as well. I think maybe bigger personalities, possibly. People are kind of mix it in with the strikers and stuff like that. There are strikers out there. Ask Antonio Mango on the under 23 scout that's online as well. There's plenty of players, creative players and strikers out there. People just don't know where to look. People don't watch other leagues as well. There's other leagues that are absolutely phenomenal as well. And ever since I've really started streaming and doing content creating, and like for instance, if I'm looking up on players and stuff like that, I've been linked to Newcastle, like Magnus Akliouche from Monaco. I've watched about three, 4 games now of Monaco. I've never like this is the first time I've watched that many games of Monaco, like and other leagues as well. Like I just watched Monaco against Marseille, where Mason Greenwood and that plays and stuff like that. There's strikers out there, and so when people say that, oh, back in the day, I don't know, does everybody watch every league all the time? I only get to when I get to do it in my spare time. So, but I think there are. What I'm basically saying, there is strikers out there, hungry strikers out there. People just don't have the time or too lazy to look, in my opinion. Ginger Hoskins, see, I understand, Philip, why Newcastle are bringing in young players of talent, but it's seeing if they do end up any good. Or Eddie have confirmed today that we went for a lot of players but failed. Yeah, we failed because of our partly because of our timing. We went for Anthony Elanga in the last 24 hours of the window. I know Paul Mitchell. We offered Nottingham Forest 35 million plus Miggy Almiron. That's probably about 50 million. Is Anthony Elanga worth 50 million? Is Anthony Elanga worth 35 million? I just know there's no way in my mind that I feel that Paul Mitchell was compelled to continue with this track. There's no way in my mind that I think Paul Mitchell looked at Anthony Elanga and said, yeah, 35 million and Miggy Almiron for this guy. And all respect to Anthony Elanga, but there's right-wing forwards out there that are just better than him that we did not need. So I see a far different window coming up for Newcastle United. If we go for Anthony Elanga again, I'll be severely disappointed. And again, I don't know if it's your first time here, Ginger Hoskins. Apologies if you're not. If you look at my stream, I did for right wing forwards. I talked about 3 or 4 right wing forwards at Newcastle. That's just me on my own back looking at stuff that players that have been linked to us. There's even more now. Like I said, Johan Bakayo that's been linked to us today. I think already Johan Bakayo, yes, he plays for in the Eredivisie, but he shows more promise than Anthony Elanga, in my opinion. So we could do better. We could do better, in my opinion. Yeah, Philip, Eddie didn't just want Gay. He confirmed. Yeah, he video. They just missed out on a lot of players. Yeah, I mean, he wanted Malik Chow, but I think kind of rumors. This is rumors that Paul Mitchell didn't really rate that deal. And I want my sport. You know, as people say, when people say Eddie Howe or any manager isn't backed, sometimes the best way you can back a manager isn't just always to say give them money, but sometimes the best way to back a manager is to say no. I'm glad that Paul Mitchell said no to the Anthony Elanga deal. Right? I'm glad that Paul Mitchell said to Crystal Palace, no, we're not giving you 70 million for Mark Gahey. From when Van Dijk was worth 75 million. And Mark Gahey is no Van Dijk. So the best way to support a manager is to say no sometimes. And Paul Mitchell is doing that, in my opinion. Davey, Eddie, how are you doing, sir? I hope you are well. Good evening to you. I'm going to go to the highlights in a moment. I'm going to read this. Philip, our momentum is back and our intensity, it is. Brentford play the type of football that suits our type of play. We can just push on. Speaking of Brentford, I'm finally going to go into Brentford now. I was going to show, let me first show the highlights. I've only got time. Because I was very bad on my timing, guys. Apologies. I'm going to show a few highlights. One, maybe two highlights that I really like from this game, and I hope that we take into the Brentford game. I'm gonna show uh, an early highlight of Joe Linton this time passing the ball to Isak, and then I'm going to show a highlight of the first Isak goal. Now you're going to say to me, why am I going to show this highlight of Joe Linton passing the ball to Isak? What is so significant about Joe Linton passing the ball to Isak? And again, if anybody's watched my highlights of the team, oh gosh,
Here they are.
if anybody's watched my highlights for the game against Palace, and this isn't just Joe Linton, this is Barnes, this is Gordon, there's anybody else apart from maybe Lewis Hall and Bruno Gomes, a little bit less them. When Eddie Howe says our approach play was good, but for some reason, as soon as we got to the let me see if this is it. Yeah, here we go. Right. So as soon as we got to the as soon as we got to the box, we just stopped playing. And I took down about 9 or 10. This is just me looking at the game twice. I don't know what the video analysts might have been seeing as well. This is me. I took about 8 or 9 occasions through the 90-minute game of where we get to where our approaches plays good. We break through a press, for instance, we intercept, whatever. We get to the box. Players are making overlapping runs, underlapping runs. They're making runs into the box. There's spaces, there's gaps. Palace players are running for their lives to close their gaps. And for one reason or another, we refuse to make the incisive pass to a player. And we're doubting ourselves. We're lacking that confidence, maybe even a little bit of ability. And it really hurts. 0 shots in that Palace game. In this Liverpool game, what pleased me most is that changed, and I'm gonna highlight Joe Linton because I highlighted him again in the Palace game. But he was our number 8. He's not a winger. I agree with Antonio Mango. He's not a winger. He's a number 8, and he absolutely thrived. So this changed for me. That mentality, the attitude changed from of doubting ourselves and not making the incisive passes. Changed from the Palace game to this game in Liverpool. And huge credit not only to Joe Linton, but to Eddie Howe in what he done, in that he gave the players confidence. He gave the players, I'm sure that inspired the players and gave them the instructions, gave them the feedback, inspired them, and they had a change in attitude, a real significant change in attitude that made this game happen. So the goals were great, but there were moments and situations and other things that have happened that led to those goals. There's a reason why those goals happened. It's because of that change in attitude. So this is Liverpool now. They're trying to break on us, and we're going to intercept. But what is good about this, number one, is they're breaking on us, and it's only Lewis Hall here. Shaw's in our half as well. What's good about it essentially is that we're pressing high. We are pressing high against one of the deadliest teams on the counter attack. But we're showing guts. We're showing cojones, and it's allowing us to be creative and create shot creating actions in the opposition half. So that's the first thing I want to say. Now, I think it's Curtis Jones tries to make the pass to Nunes. Lewis Hall does a terrific interception here. And by the way, credit to Dan Burn who followed Nunes as well. But Lewis Hall holds his run. He intercepts the ball now. And already, because we're so high up, guess what we've got? We've already got 3 players in front of Lewis Hall, just in front of Lewis Hall, in Liverpool's half. That's another good thing. There's another player here, number 4. There's only about 3 Newcastle players in their half. I'm going to guess there's about 7 players in Liverpool's half. So it's not a surprise to me already that we managed to get about 14, 15 shots in this game when you've got so many players in the opposition half. That's the other thing. So Lewis Hall gets the ball. He's got a number of options here. He had the 3 players in front of him, and he's got the 2 players here as well. Fantastic. He's looking around. He's excellent on the ball, Lewis Hall. Cool as a cucumber, Lewis Hall. Fantastic. He's looking. He got Isak here already, and this is what Isak's been, not just in this game. If Isak was making runs in the Palace game. He was making runs in the West Ham game. He's been playing really, really well, Isak. And so many times people miss his runs. So here he is here. He's making the run. Okay, already three Newcastle players there on the line against Liverpool. Three players in front of Hall. So many options. Brilliant. So Isak's making the run. I think it's either Joe Linton or in front of him as well. Brilliant. Hall sees it because Hall's so excellent. He makes the pass. And you might be thinking to me, Philip, like that's a what's so big about this? I implore you, if you got 90 spare minutes, go back to the Palace game, and you're not going to see. I think the only person that makes a pass like this, and that came like in the 60th, 70th minute, was Lewis Hall. We had these type of opportunities to make these passes, and we refused. We point blank refused. It changed, and look what happens. It sets off Isak. Again, he's running down the channels, stretching the Liverpool defense. If you're a Liverpool defender, you do not want to be in this situation with Isak. You do not want to be in a one-on-one with Isak. You don't want to be. Isak again because he's fantastic on the ball. We know how good a dribbler is. I think this is Gomez. Gomez could have went straight into Isak, and he didn't want it. He didn't do that because he knows what could happen to him. Again, but if Hall doesn't make that pass, this situation isn't created. It is created. Now Isak's in a 1v1. Excellent dribbling. Excellent drives himself into the box. He's got two Newcastle players into the box that he can pass to. He maybe he doesn't. Maybe the window isn't open for him. But look, it's Joe Linton here. It's Joe Linton who's in the number 8. I think it's Murphy there as well. I think just outside of the box, it is Murphy. And I think it's Lewis. I think it's Lewis Hall there, isn't it? Lewis Hall. And I can't remember who the other players are in the box. Again, now going back to Joe Linton's about to receive the ball. He gets the ball. He's about to get closed down. In the Palace game, if this was the Palace game, Joe Linton does not make this pass. I'm going to show you guys. Joe Linton does not make this pass. And he had a couple of occasions. He did it once in the Palace game. He does make it once in the Palace game. That's after refusing to pass it 2 or 3 times before that. But his attitude is phenomenal, and he does it instead. Eye of the needle stuff, Iniesta stuff. What does he do? Here's Isak. Isak points, says, please, Joe Linton, there's a little gap here. Pass it into the space. I'm ready. You can see Isak pointing. I'm ready. Hit that ball. I'm ready to cause damage. Joe Linton says, yes. Bang. Brilliant through ball through that gap, causing all sorts of havoc. You've got Bruno in the box. Fine, it's about 8, 9 Liverpool players, but the damage is already caused. I'm ready, and obviously Isak takes it on, passes it. I wonder if he's now thinking maybe I should have shot it first time, but the stage is now set. Our number 8s, our fullbacks are now, you can already see, are willing to pass the ball and be risky with it. And this is the change in attitude that they saw, which is what I was really, really happy about. And I got, again, there's just so many examples of this. But I'm going to go to the Isak goal, because what I'm trying to say now is it's not a coincidence. Yes, it was a world-class goal, but what led up to that goal wasn't a coincidence. It was a change in attitude in Newcastle's players, in how they move the ball around, the key passes they make, and the willingness they have to make things happen and take risks. So let me fast forward it to it. I got it on 405 here. Hope it is. Let me see. This is it. Okay. Yeah. Let me get it here. So keep it in mind. You just saw Joe Linton make that pass. You saw Lewis Hall make the pass as well. Newcastle taking risks. Newcastle showing a positive attitude with the ball. Newcastle saying, look, we know who Liverpool are. We know they can break you. Oh, goodness gracious. We know they can break you on the transition if we get these, if we make the wrong decision with the ball. But we are willing to take risks with the ball. We are willing to be creative with the ball. Come on. Can you get it there? Okay, fine. What is this? 407. All right, so let me just take it here. So Newcastle. Um, I wanted to show the bit because Lewis Hall again is involved in this as well. This is Lewis Hall gets the ball from Mohamed Salah. That was a great battle as well. Mohamed Salah is Mohamed Salah. He's a genius. So Lewis Hall gets the ball again, very very calm on the ball. He doesn't panic. He doesn't make rush decisions. He takes his time. He looks up again. He's saying who's available, who wants it. Again, makes a great decision because that's what Lewis Hall does. Now he makes his pass to Fabian Schär. I want us to note this as well. Fabian Schär is now looking ahead of him and looking at his options. There's already, from what I can see on the screen, I can't see further here, but I think there's more players here. He's already got 4 Newcastle players in that side of the pitch. You can also, no, excuse me, five here, including Bruno here. And there's the option for him. I suspect there's maybe 6 players there. But again, there's options for him. What does Fabian Schär do? He tried to do, but again, this is about taking risks with the ball. He looks at the ball and look at Bruno. Bruno is now about to he sees there's a gap here centrally. And he knows that if he positions himself correctly, he's got 1, 2, 3, possibly 4 Newcastle players in front of him should he make the pass. So Bruno gets himself centrally, says, hey, give me the ball. Shaw says, all right, cool. You're Bruno Gomes. You can be surrounded by 4 Liverpool players and you can still get the ball off because you are Bruno Gomes. You're very press resistant. And again, this is why Bruno's so excellent. You're about to see him receive the ball. Look how well he receives the ball on a half turn, which enables him to make this pass. Excellent half turn. And then he goes the player into making the challenge. The player fails. I don't know if that's McAllister. I forget maybe it's McAllister. I don't know who it is. He gets past him because he's Bruno Gomes. And look, because he gets past him, he's got 4 Newcastle players, 4 choices. Plus, there's already a gap here between Van Dijk and Robertson, so he can get the ball off to Murphy. He's got Isak and it looks like Joe Linton, the number 8, pushing up high in between Van Dijk and Gomez. And he's got Tonali, the other number 8, on the other side. Fantastic. Newcastle being brave. Newcastle being willing to take risks on the ball. And Isak and Bruno being Bruno gets past the player. And the other thing that he does is what we were doing in these situations against Palace. Oftentimes, when we had this sort of situation, we'd make the safe pass. And I would say the safe pass would be usually down the channels rather than centrally. We'd say, oh, with Van Dijk, we don't want to make it he's got to intercept this pass because he's Van Dijk. Bruno said, no, let me pass it to Murphy or let me pass it to whoever's on that far left side. It's going to be far less likely that it's going to get intercepted. Bruno says, no, we did this against Palace. We are going for the jugular. And look what happens. He passes it centrally to Isak because Isak's body language already says, just hit it. Please just pass it centrally. I can take Van Dijk on. Trust me. And by the way, how many Newcastle players are on this pressing this Liverpool backline? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 Newcastle players pressing. How many? 5 Liverpool defenders. Fantastic, brave. Instead of going to Murphy on the outside, instead of going to Gordon on the outside, he says, I've got 3 Newcastle players plus Isak, soon to be world-class striker Isak. We're going to go straight for the jugular. I'm going to back Isak against Van Dijk. Boom, central pass. And this is why he got 2 assists. No risk, no reward. And we're willing to take the risk. He passes it centrally. Isak, 1 touch, gets onto his right foot. Van Dijk thinking, mate, you're not going to do this, are you? Isak says, yeah, I am about to do this because we just took... And Isak even had the choice of still passing it and doing a reverse ball to Tonali, who was who would have been through one-on-one on the keeper had Isak made this pass. But Isak is world-class. He's going to be world-class, but he did a world-class shot. Bang! No risk, no reward. And Newcastle, were willing to take risks with the ball. We saw it with Hall. We saw it with Joe Linton. We're now seeing it with Bruno Gomes. and this is what our reward for taking risks with the ball. I was very, very glad to see this. I hope to see this against Brentford. And as I said to you guys, I had 4 or 5 other highlights. There's even more than that. Um, of Newcastle doing that. Obviously, there is more than that. We saw that with the goals that we scored as well. So I was very, very pleased to see that. I want to see more of that, especially for the Brentford game. And before we go on to the Brentford game, let me know what you guys' thoughts are. Also, please remember to like, share, and subscribe, folks. It helps the algorithms. It helps the algorithms. But look, let me know what you guys think so far. We're going to go to the Brentford game, but I was so, so pleased to see us being brave with the ball, taking risks, not only in the passing, but in the dribbling stats, winning the ball in the final third, being intense, having two number eights, and Tonali and Joe Linton just causing absolute havoc to the Liverpool backline. Made Gordon so happy to see number eights next to him and to see Lewis Hall pushing up. Made Gordon so, so happy because now Gordon is saying, hey, when I get on the ball, I've got people, I can pass it to Tonali, I can pass it to Lewis Hall, or I can take the dribble. It feels like Gordon's even more free. He's more free in his mind. He's more willing to take on players because he knows he's got players around him. So he does that. As opposed to when in the Palace game where he was often like in situations where there isn't necessarily players around him. He has to take on 1, 2, 3 Palace players, and he's reluctant to do so. In this game, he was far more um, adventurous, far more risk taking in his approach. I loved Gordon in this game, but it's because Newcastle were willing to take risks. It's because we were high intensity and high press, and it was a really, really good performance. So before I go into the Brentford game, I'm going to take you guys' comments. I was hoping to kind of talk about a few transfers and stuff like that because, like I said, Johan Bakayoko. I talked about Kosanov last week. Somebody else was linked to us, Evan Ferguson, but Evan Ferguson has also been linked to Nottingham Forest. So we're seeing more and more people linked to Newcastle United. It's going to be a very, very interesting window for me as well. But we've got 6, like I said, we've got 6 games in about 2 weeks. So I hope to get a time when I can really dedicate some time to look at the latest transfer news from a point of which players that are rumored, which ones are more likely that could happen, and what it could mean and stuff like that. So I want to dedicate a stream and a session to that. So to the comments before we go to the Brentford game, Ginger Hoskins. Oh, I think they can sign a decent young players, but the first team they just need an elite scouting system, and we're getting that. Paul Mitchell's doing that, and I think we've already got a decent scouting system with Steve Nixon, with because with the players that we've brought in, Andy Howe, and others as well, we've got a decent scouting system. We do have a decent scouting system. I can always improve. It can always get better, but I think we've got a good scouting team. Ginger Hoskins, Philip, I'm 44. I've seen us at our worst under Aussie, then Keegan, then some crap managers. Yes, Ashley was bad, but it's 4 years later. We just need to adapt and buy better, but our defense is weak. Yeah, no, and I agree with you. I'm 37, and obviously, we saw Ashley and we saw 2 relegations and stuff like that. But when you say it's been 4 years, I take from that you're expecting more. What I would say is that we've been within a year of the takeover, no, within 18 months of the takeover, we got into the Champions League, we got into the League Cup final. Last year we saw two quarterfinals. This year we're already in the quarterfinal for the League Cup with Brentford at home. I expect us to get semi-finals. Now, I'm not saying banging the drum and saying, oh, I'm happy to see quarterfinals, semi-finals, and finals. I want to see trophies. But what I'm saying is that we have seen a dramatic improvement. When the takeover happened, as you know, Ginger Hoskins, Newcastle were second bottom in the Premier League, very, very much possibly seeing a third relegation in the space of 10 to 12 years. So Newcastle was so far back during the takeover. There's just so much work to do, and not just on the transfer front, but on every front of the club structure, that I think we've made a lot of great strides forwards, to be honest. We need to back Botman, no right, not the fullback, no center back. We need a inside forward who can run the defenses. I don't know if you're talking to me there. Hunter, can we get back to the content, please? Yeah. Have I? I hope I'm talking about the content. I hope so. Hey, at least Hal can come out and said he had targets. Yeah. Philip, here's the thing. I've ranked number one on 20 on I am ranked number one on from FM24 online, right? But even in real life, how we played last night won't work against other teams. To fix that right wing and get a number 10 in the, yeah, look, we need the right winger, we need the centre midfield. I agree. Davy Eddie, Ginger. Oh yeah, talking to Ginger. When Murphy plays against the better teams, it suits his attributes. Brentford play an open game, and will be great cover for Hall against Mbwemo. When I'm very busy, I'm asking. Oops, sorry guys. I listen to this whilst I'm very busy, so I don't reply. It's just asking questions. Ask questions. Everybody ask questions. It's fine, guys. It's, apologies. Like the comments, guys. Please do please do ask questions. Don't be. It's me. I will be as more concise, guys. Please do ask questions. No need to apologize. This is what we're here for. This late evening, like we're here for asking questions. We want to know what's going on with Newcastle. Philip, would Eddie not be better using inside forwards and letting the fullbacks run down the wing, more attacking? Yeah, that's what happened in this game with Gordon. But you have to have. We talked about it yesterday. The fullbacks have to push up. The centre backs have to push up in order to make it happen. Yeah, we do. Ozzy Zedid, yeah, he was a manager before Keegan. I don't think I was even born then, but credit to you. Right, Brentford game. Brentford. So let's go into Brentford. Let's share this tab instead. A couple of things about Brentford. Really, really interesting stuff. I'm gonna be as concise as I can. So, teams, what are they doing really good and statistically? And there's a couple of things in terms of how they play, and we'll do the tactical board stuff as well. Make sure you guys can see this. Can you see this? Yes, you can. This is on FOTMob. So they are currently 10th. Oh, can you guys hear me? So they're currently 10th in the FOTMob ratings. That's taking everything into consideration. Passing, tackling, all that stuff. Where is Newcastle? Let me see where Newcastle are. Where do FOTMob rate us? We're currently like 12th in the league, like just in terms of stats, but we're 10th as well. FOTMob ratings 10th as well. Okay, so they rate us equally to Brentford. So we're pretty much neck and neck with Brentford in the league. All right, so we're two evenly matched teams. Goals per match for Brentford 1.9, so nearly 2 goals. Brentford are scoring nearly 2 goals per match. I think they've got where is Brentford? I think Brentford got like 24 goals in the league so far. Where are they in the table? So Brentford are Brentford are above us. They're in 11th place, but they're on 20 points like we are. We've got 17. By the way, Newcastle, as you guys know, we've got 17 goals scored, 17 goals conceded. Incredible. Brentford. Brentford have scored 27 goals and conceded 26 goals. So they got +1. So it comes across to me from that already. They've scored one less goal than Spurs. I think that's the second highest scoring team in the league. Brentford. They're the second highest scoring team in the league. Brentford. They score nearly 2 goals per game. So I think Davey Eddie is probably right in Newcastle. Brentford are an open team. Like this could be a very open game in that regard. So they're a higher risk, higher reward team. And so far, it's been paying off for them. Weren't they like scoring a goal? They scored like a goal in the first minute for about 4 or 5 games. So they're very aggressive in the attacking part of the game. So let's look at their stats. Like overall, how they're ranking against other teams in the 24-25 season. Like I said, they're ranked 10th. They're on the same points as us. Obviously, they've got +1 goal difference as well. Goals per match 1.9, goals conceded 1.9. So Newcastle are likely to concede because we'll be conceding about 1 goal per game, but we're likely to score as well. So I anticipate that this is going to be a high scoring game. They're 12th in the league for possession. I don't read too much in the possession. they're not necessarily a possession-based side. Brentford, they're relatively a direct team. What if they have possession is for a purpose. They've only kept one clean sheet this season. How many have Newcastle kept? I think we kept about 3, maybe. But Brentford have kept one clean sheet. Newcastle have kept 3. So we're not that much better than them, but they've only kept one clean sheet. They've conceded 26 goals, which is incredible. Newcastle will score in this game. You can bet your bottom dollar on that. Newcastle will score. They'll have opportunities to score in this game as well. And at the same time, expected goals, they're 8th in the league with 22.9. I think Newcastle are going to be low for this one. We've got to pick up on this. We're not even in the top 10 for expected goals. Newcastle are 12th in the league for expected goals. Which is incredible. They're 7th for big chances. They are 9th for shots on target. So they score. They have about 4.9, so about 5 shots on target per game. 4 shots on. They create about 4 big chances per game. 4.2 big chances missed. They're 11th, so they must have a decent conversion rate, which is reflected in the amount of goals they've scored as well. 11th for accurate passes, so maybe that's where they're going wrong. Accurate on balls. Interestingly, touches in the opposition box, they're 14th. So they don't spend too much time in the opposition box, apart from when they're trying to score goals, really. 11 point interceptions. So that kind of lets me know that, they're pretty average in terms of interceptions as well. So there's something about their structure where they're not necessarily cutting out passes. And Newcastle will have opportunity to score goals in this game. Absolutely. Possessions won in the final third, and this is the key. Brentford are 5th in the league. So exactly what Dave Yeddy is saying is that Brentford are a high pressing team, and they're gonna give us options. Newcastle have been good at playing from out the back, so this is going to be very, very interesting, in my opinion, how it goes. Saves per match. Their goalkeepers having to make up to 4.9 saves per match. They're number 1. They're ahead of Southampton. So they're conceding lots of chances. So Brentford are coming across to me as a high risk, very high risk, high reward team under Thomas Frank. From looking at these stats, really. They don't commit too many fouls, though. Yeah. So, guys, tell me what you guys think so far. Brentford, the second highest scoring team in the Premier League. They've also conceded either number 1. Goals conceded per match 1.2, 1.9. So the highest team for conceding goals. I assume their goalkeepers having to make more saves than the Southampton goalkeeper per match as well, which is incredible. So they concede a lot of chances as well. Newcastle will have chances. This Newcastle that played against Liverpool plays against Brentford. They're gonna have lots of chances on goal, and if Isak is Isak, Gordon is Gordon, we're gonna score some goals as well. The main thing is going to be defending against Brentford, because Brentford are going to go for the goal. They're going to create chances as well. So I already anticipate that this is going to be a high scoring game. Now I want to show a little bit about how Brentford play, and I read. I looked at the Villa game, so you'll see on paper that Brentford play in a 4-3-3, but it's not really a 4-3-3. Really, it's like a 3-2-5-1, which is why they're so aggressive in the. Which is why this is a football analyst thing. Offensive transitions. So they put a lot of men forward, so they're quite open. They quite vulnerable in the transitions, but they're willing to take those risks. Very much willing to take those risks. In the defensive side of the game, when they're having to defend, they go into a It's not a 5-4-1. Is it a 5-4-1? They go into a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, about 5-3-2 formation. Yeah, 5-3-2 formation where they essentially get very congested in the central areas, trying to force the teams out wide. So when they intercept or get the ball, they're able to get up the pitch very, very quickly and in very short order. Their two midfield pivots act as connectors between the defense and the attack. Hence why, and the two attackers are obviously Mbeumo, who Newcastle are very much interested in, and Wissa. And that's how they start creating all those chances, those shots on goals. And it's been paying a lot of dividends. And this is talking about, like I said, they've got 26 goals this season, second highest scoring team in the league, higher than Liverpool, I think, higher than Man City. So that's they got the higher press. Thomas Frank, as it says here, this is the Football Analyst. Thomas Frank places much value in being aggressive about the ball. This shows in Brentford's high pressure. Frank usually wants his team to go man to man, and intensely press their position. So we're going to look at the 1v1 duels that are likely to happen. They must use their high press. They almost use their high press as an attacking threat, as in Newcastle when they're really at it, scoring many goals from winning the ball on high. And you've seen that they're fifth in the league currently for high turnovers. And as you guys can see here, this is against Arsenal and Chelsea. They don't care who the opposition is. You can see them here from the back here, pressure on a striker, 3-on-3 against Arsenal's midfield, 3-on-3 against Arsenal's defense. You can expect this against Newcastle. You can expect this level of pressure on our back line, from Brentford. Again, this is against Chelsea of last season, 3-on-3 on the midfield, 2-on-2 on their attack, and again, you can see the forward there. So the Newcastle, this is especially Brentford at home. So you can expect this level of pressure from Brentford in this home game. It's going to be a very intense game. And as you said, David Eddie, it's going to be so important that Newcastle bring that intensity, bring that aggression into this game. It can't just be Liverpool. And I think they will, Newcastle. So this is how it's going to shape up, and I'll go to the tactical board. This is from the Football Analyst. As you guys can see from right to left, this is when Brentford are pressing. They've literally got three guys at the back here. Usually it's Ethan Pinnock, Collins, and Potter. I think it might be, or maybe I forgot who the other player is. So they got three in the back. The two pivots push up on the midfield here. Again, 1v1 situations. And then they've got five guys at the top, pressing that back line from left, 7 on the 2, 9 on the 5, 8 on the 6, 10 on the 4, 11 on the 3, leaving only the goalkeeper there. So it's very, very high pressing and man to man almost. The opportunity is going to be for Newcastle. They do this against Newcastle, is going to be on those flanks, which is what Brentford want. They're gonna back their players in 1v1 situations, whether it's Gordon and Murphy, for instance, or maybe Barnes if he plays, but I think it'll be Murphy, and then Isak probably up against Ethan Collins. It's going to be very interesting. And then, again, in the pivots, you can imagine it's going to be possibly either Tonali and Bruno, or Bruno and Joe Linton up against Damsgaard and Janelt. So it's going to be really, really interesting to how we kind of play out from out the back and what we do. And speaking of the tactical board, I'm going to show it how it kind of comes out on the tactical board as well. So Davey Eddie, I mean, I don't know if you're still here, but you've got it spot on in terms of how, let me zoom in on here, in terms of how Brentford are playing. Let me make sure you guys can see this. I'm sorry, I've got it zoomed in. Okay, so this is from left to right. I've used the play. Actually, I wanted to show you guys something before I get. I'll show it at the end. I was going to show the highlight from the Aston Villa game that Brentford just had, where they lost 3-1. And I think 2 out of the 3 of those goals, because they lost 3-1 Brentford, and 2 out of 3 of those goals were goals where Brentford conceded from Villa's from transition attacks as well. So I'm going to highlight that at the end in my conclusion about how Newcastle can score as well. So it's going to be on that transition. And again, going back to what Davey Eddie said, Newcastle are going to have a lot of chances because Brentford have this high pressing, higher risk, higher reward sort of tactical setup, which works for Newcastle, which really works for Newcastle. So this is the players that played for Brentford against Villa, which of course they can change. Let me make sure you guys can see this. Yes, you can. How well can you see this? Is it going to be? I want to make sure that you guys can see everything. Yeah. You guys can see everything. Um. Here we go. So as I said, from left to right here. This is Vandenberg. I spoke about him earlier. If you guys remember, Vandenberg was sold to Brentford from Liverpool for 50 million, and they also bought from Liverpool Carvalho. No, not for 50 million, for 20 million, 25 million, and they also bought Carvalho for 25 million. So Liverpool made 50 million from Brentford this transfer window. Players that never met their first team. Anyway, so Brentford will press high against Newcastle. They don't give a monkeys about who you are. They're going to press high. Uh, uh, with Pinnock, Collins, and Vandenberg, three big, tall, athletic defenders. What this allows them to do is, I think it will look, it will change. This will be interesting. So they've got the two guys in the pivot in Lewis Potter and Yano, who probably come up against Tonali and Joe Linton as the 2-8s. Oh no, well, it depends actually. I think it's going to be like this more as it was. So it's probably going to be Tonali in the 6-8 role, for instance. And Bruno will be more advanced as he was against Liverpool. So you're probably going to see Lewis against Bruno. I back Bruno every time. I just showed you from the highlights, guys. I think he rounded off against McAllister before he passed the ball off to Isak because that's what Bruno does. Already, Joe Linton probably against Yano as well on that left side. And then obviously Tonali in the number 6 role. He's probably going to be pressed by. So that's 2 pivots. So let me get this out here. So you guys can see what I mean. I'm going to highlight a few things. Yeah. So you're going to see this. These are going to be some of the key areas here. Am I going to have to? What's the best way to do this? This. Then we're going to see a bit of this. That wasn't good. Try to see I'm including Tonali in this. I'm going to have to move them a little bit around. And then you're going to see this. Let me make sure I move the players around. So the kind of key battles. Here we go. So Potter, Bruno, Yano, Joe Linton, and Mbuemo Tonali. But Mbuemo will be moving across these channels here as well. So it's not just going to be stuck here. But he's going to be pressing Yamaluk here. Pressing against Hall. And Wissa. Where's the ball? So say, for instance, Shah's got the ball here. Damsgaard. Wissa will be here trying to block the passing channels to Burn. Damsgaard will be pushing up as well. Sade on the side here, up against Livramento. Some key battles here. So they're going to be right up. Damsgaard here against Shah. And Buemo would have the option of trying to block off Tonali as well. So this is the other key battle here. So let me see. So from left to right, and then you've got from left to right, you've got the 3 defenders, Collins, Vandenberg, Pinnock, up against Murphy, Isak, and Gordon. And that's the high risk factor for Brentford there. Because if Newcastle, again, if Shah's able to get the ball off, maybe go directly to Gordon against Vandenberg, Isak against Collins, Murphy against Pinnock type of situations, or play through the press. Trust Tonali with the ball, who can get it off to if for instance if Bruno manages to get himself in an advanced position, create these kind of 2v1s. You've got an opportunity to create 2v1 situations here. Joe Linton will be trying to press up as well. Um, as well. Here we are, either left to right, but although against Liverpool, he was a lot more like this, allowing like that. So you kind of create these risks. This is the kind of the high risk situations that Brentford create. So you got these 1v1 situations, Murphy Pinnock, Collins Isak, Gordon, and Vanderberg. Then you got the midfield itself. Are Bruno in the advanced eight against Lewis and Potter, and Buemo Tonali, for instance, Jolin and Yano. And then obviously our backline with Sade, Livramento, Damsgaard, Ashar. Whistle will be the free man trying to pass, cut off any passing lanes, as is the job for Isak as well. And Yamaluk, who I don't know too much about, against Lewis Hall, for instance. So there is some freedom there for our back line, but there's a real kind of intensity in how Brentford play. Very high risk, and you're already thinking. But again, they're fifth in the league. They're fifth in the league for winning the ball in the final third. So this is working for them so far. I do back Newcastle to play through the press. Yes, they haven't been great in the final box generally this season. But if you watch Newcastle's approach play, no matter who they're playing against, Arsenal, Tottenham, Chelsea, Newcastle have been quite good in playing through the press. And Tonali showed against one of the best pressing teams in the league, Liverpool, that he can play through the press. Bruno, we've just seen, is self-explanatory. He can do that as well. So I think Brentford are risking a lot here. I personally, again, I'm speaking about both teams in their kind of going at their optimum, going full tilt. Both sets of players, bringing their A game. If both sets of teams, both set of players bring their A game, I'm backing Newcastle in these 1v1 situations. If Shaw will have the option of going long, for instance, or passing them, or going directly to Bruno and Lewis Potter. Newcastle will have been very, very good also in creating these kind of triangle situations as well. So you'll see maybe Bruno, Murphy maybe dropping in, and Shaw and kind of creating these triangles. Pinnock will have to push up, for instance, in that situation to stop that from happening. Sade would have to back up. Bruno will be here. What that allows then is Isak was very good in the excuse me. He's been very good in connecting to also come in and support, drop in, for instance. And now you've got these gaps now creating in the Brentford line, where then Collins and Vanderberg would have to move across. Tonali's going to press up as he did against Liverpool. Joe Linton's going to press up. So is Gordon. So again, Buemo, Yana, all these guys are going to have to do some incredible recovery runs, and they've been doing that against Newcastle. But Newcastle are really good at creating these triangles, either through Livramento and Isak, and getting the ball up front. But where you're more likely to see these triangles is on Lewis Hall's side. So let me bring that back. Bruno, Lewis, Murphy's here, Isak is here, Tonali is here in the number 6, and Buemo, Yano, Joe Linton, Vanderberg here. Where's Pinnock? Pinnock is here. Here we go. So you'd have seen Newcastle primarily were attacking through the left side, through Hall. And what you have is, again, these triangles being formed. You have Tonali, Joe Linton coming in. Excuse me. Hall will be trying to push up. Tonali, Joe Linton, Gordon liking to go on the inside as well. Again, forcing Brentford to go to having to really trying to squeeze in the situation. If they're not quick enough or aggressive enough, Tonali, Gordon coming in, Joe Linton, Isak will be moving across. Murphy will be going across. So Brentford have to be very, very aggressive in trying to stop these triangles being formed against Newcastle. The best thing they can do is ensure that they're ahead of. They're going to try and test Tonali's press resistance. They know what Bruno's about, but they don't know about what Tonali can do. And what you see a lot actually is Tonali and Bruno being very good at rotating. So sometimes it will be Bruno that drops in. Tonali instead goes into the number 8. You see this happening. Tonali goes into the number 8. You'll see Bruno dropping in, forming these type of situations. So you see Gordon, Bruno, Tonali, Lewis Hall. So it's either Gordon running in, Lewis Hall can go directly, or onto Joe Linton playing these triangles with Bruno and others, or Isak dropping in. Collins has to move across. So there's a lot of options here for Newcastle to break the Brentford press. If you guys can see here, again, if Bruno joins in, Lewis Hall gets the ball here. Yamaluk might come to meet him. Yana will be following Bruno, and Buemo will be following Joe Linton. Vanderberg, if Gordon will be making these smart moves where he creates the space behind him. Isak will be coming in behind that as well, trying to create these type of overloads, and there'll be a lot of problems here, in my opinion, for Brentford. But it's been working for them, and this is, I think, what Davey's talking about. These kind of opportunities that are going to be created for Newcastle going forward. I'll show the attacking side for Newcastle as well before we close off. But I just fancy Newcastle, especially on the flanks, to be creating those type of opportunities. And Newcastle have also been creating chances centrally through Bruno going into the advanced 8 position. As you guys saw, Shaw, where is it? Yano. Let me get you guys here. Tonali, Joe Linton, Gordon on the left, Isak in the middle, Murphy on the right, Pinnock here, Collins here, Vandenberg, and Buemo, Shaw, Joe Linton left, Bruno in the advanced 8, Janelt, Joe Linton, Wissa, Buemo, Tonali, Wissa. Where are you? Here we go. Sade's here. Damsgaard, Bruno. And Newcastle will be... I'll show you in the next one, actually. But yeah, would also are happy to play it centrally. Again, Damsgaard or Lewis Potter's going to have to track Bruno. If they don't, you're going to see Murphy making these runs either on the outside, stretching the play, or on the inside here. And Livramento pushing up, especially if you get a situation when Livramento pushes up and Sade has to follow him. You've got the option of then you'll see Murphy moving in centrally. You see Isak joining here. You see Tonali again pressing up again. You're gonna have to create these type of situations where that high line is going to be tested with Gordon as well. As you saw against Liverpool, you saw 5-6 Newcastle players on that press. It looks almost ridiculous, but it's gonna be very risky for Brentford. But like I said, and like Davey Eddie said, look, Brentford are willing to take these type of risks. I'll also show Newcastle with the ball. Before I do that, let me read the comments. Oh, goodness me. Ginger Hoskins, Philip, my dad's disabled, so I run around after him and just listen to stuff as he's 67, mate, with one leg. God bless you, and well done for looking after your dad, sir. So I don't answer other fans as I'm busy. Fair play to you, sir. Aaron Cave, hope you're well, sir. Good to see you again. And Buemo is going to be a massive problem. He is. He's going to be on Lewis Hall's side, but Lewis Hall's just playing Mo Salah. So it's another day, another dollar for Lewis Hall. It's going to be a massive problem. Need to double up on him and not give him any space. And Joe Linton helps with that a lot. That's going to be absolutely key. You're right, Aaron. Oliver Simon Jordan, hope you're well, sir. How did your interview with Eddie Howe go? Isak was blatantly putting himself in the shop window against Liverpool, and against Liverpool, can he have the same impact against Brentford? That's an interesting take, Jordan. I don't know if he may have been doing that, but I think Isak has been playing well and been making these type of movements in most games. It's just that players haven't been getting him the ball. So um, I'm happy for him to be playing well, and because it's for Newcastle. So if that gets us into Europe, no problem for me. So let me make sure you guys can see this. You can. I'm going to zoom in. So this is Newcastle in the attack, and this is when I think Newcastle got the um, some of the options here. So I think they're going to choose more. This is the left side through Hall. So Brentford like to take up this 5-3-2 kind of defensive posture, where Pinnock Collins will be the two central defenders. Potter on the left, Vanderberg on the right, and Yano will be dropping. Oh, not Yano. Yamaluk, excuse me, will be in that right back position here. So it'll be a flat back. So what that will do is try to nullify the situation of being kind of outflanked on the side as well. And then we'll have the two pivots of Janot and Damsgaard. So once the ball is taken, they'll have three players in the middle of Damsgaard, Sade, and Janot. But it'll be mainly like it's interesting. They've got an option because Charlie's got the pace, so they'll all drop into a 5-3-2. They have the option of if Newcastle lose the ball, they'll use Charlie's pace to try and either get them out, or obviously Mbuemo could drop in, Wissa goes out, and kind of creates these kind of breaks the press and gets the ball out. But the whole main thing is for Brentford to compress that central area, prevent the opposition from attacking centrally, and then and force us out wide. Because if they force us out wide, you create they've got you have this type of situation. For instance, say we go out wide here, then you'll have Burn, Shaw, Livramento, Hall up here, and you'll have Gordon against Yamaluk, Yano, Joe Linton, Vanderberg, and then you'll have obviously extra kind of defensive lines here from Damsgaard and others looking out for the runs. And you kind of create these three on three situations where it's going to be very difficult to break down. And if Newcastle lose the ball because it's so compact, Brentford are very good at breaking forward with Wissa and Buemo and Sade, and kind of creating these type of situations where it's going to be like 3-on-3 type of situations to hurt Newcastle. So Newcastle have to be very good and very accurate with the ball, and they're gonna be in the situations where they have to cause overload. So when Brentford are in this 5-3-2, 5-2-3 situation, which should be a 5-3-2, you're gonna have to see Hall, especially. Say we're attacking on the left side. Gordon loves to be on the inside here. You're gonna have to get the situation where you got Hall on the left side with Gordon, Joe Linton pressing up. We'll get these guys here. Oh, my nose is so itchy. You're gonna have to. They're gonna have to find ways to isolate Yamaluk, for instance, and Vanderberg, and keep players occupied. So you'll have situations where Isak is moving across here, Joe Linton's moving across here, Tonali's joining in as well. So it's forcing Damsgaard, Yano, and others to try and close these gaps and force Brentford further and further back, and kind of cause these type of overloads here. Bruno, gosh, I forgot about Bruno. It'll be probably Tonali here. So you're gonna be causing these overloads, where essentially either Hall will go on the outside or on the inside here. Gordon's allowed to tuck in, and he's got the option of either going through centrally, going through the gap here, or going out wide. alongside Joe Linton and Lewis Hall. The whole aim will be to move the ball as quickly as possible, but it's very, very difficult against this kind of low block situation. But the overloads would have to be caused. So Yamaluk they'll have to find a way to isolate Yamaluk and kind of cause these 2v1 situations, 3v1 situations, and have the midfielders, either Tonali and Bruno, adding the overloads here, as you guys can see in the middle, and kind of add an extra line, add an extra pressure onto their attacks as well. But that's not the way I think it might happen this way. But I don't think that's the way Newcastle will necessarily always get their goals. I think the key is going to be in those quick transitions, and I'll highlight to you guys the Villa game, because 2 out of 3 of Villa's goals were scored on the transition. So let me make sure you guys can see this. Yeah, you can. This is Villa. So Villa have. Let me get this. Is this the right one here? Is this it? Okay, so yeah, Brentford were just on the attack. Excuse me, guys. Oh, Brentford were just on the attack. You can see they've committed men forward. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Brentford forwards in the Villa half. I think this is Kamara who's managed to round off on Yano. And this is the thing: if Kamara can do this against Yano, Bruno can do this as well. And it's a quick transition off to, I don't know who this is. Is that Rogers? And again, oh gosh, sorry guys. There we go. They've made a transition really quickly. Got 3 versus 4 situation again, and again it's that 3 man in the back line. They're having to push back. I don't know who this is for Brentford here, but because they got that back line, let me go back a little bit again. They get caught in this transition where, again, this is all from Kamara. Kamara breaking free. Because Brentford are so high up, which is fine. As soon as that ball gets off centrally, you can imagine this being Bruno, for instance, or Tonali. You get the situation we've got 3 on 3 or 3 on verse 4 situation. And Brentford are on the back hill already. And if Villa can do this, so can Newcastle. Kind of these type of situations are being created. You have to be incisive. You can see their midfielders. I think it's Mbuemo, Janot, Damsgaard. I don't know who this other guy is on the side here. They're just too far back. They can't support the players just yet. They're trying to get in there, but the Villa players get ahead of them. Now look at that. There's an overload here with Bailey coming in. At any time the ball can come in, it's a really good goal actually. I don't know who this is that scores it. Is it McGinn? Who scored that goal? Fantastic goal. Oh, it's Rogers. I didn't recognize him. He highlighted his hair. But again, they scored a second goal again when they caught Brentford in the transition. So I just think Newcastle can do something similar as well. It's going to be difficult to break down Brentford once they get back, and I think how it's going to be advising the players is, once you get into these situations where it's 3 on 3, 4 on 3, make sure you get the shot off. Whether if there's a pass on, make it. If there isn't, take the shot. But essentially, our main threat is going to be in the transition, in my opinion. So let me read the comments and I'll conclude and give a prediction. Send me your predictions, guys. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe as well. But send me your predictions for the game. Oliver Simon Jordan. I've got a feeling we won't be able to turn down a big offer for Isak in the summer. It depends how big the offer, and depends if Isak wants to go. Also depends if we're able to sell other players. I mean, how comfortable if we've already sold other players and we're comfortable with the PSR, we might not have to sell. And if Isak's happy with his contract, and it depends who the players. There's so many spinning players in that. It depends who comes in for him. If it's Real Madrid with a £150 million offer, it might be a bit difficult. But I won't be surprised if we do keep him. We managed to keep. I didn't think that we'd keep Bruno, Isak, Gordon, um, all in one summer this summer, but we did. So hopefully we can do that again. But I can see, I'm definitely understanding of the concerns though. Oliver Simon Jordan, like I said last time, we're going to have to go through a few cycles of buying and selling our best players to get a better squad in the long term. We may do, but I think Paul Mitchell's goal is to sell players that aren't big players, but to sell your what Liverpool did, sell your Cavallo, sell your Vanderbergs. So we've got Pivas, we've got Vistag, we've got a couple of players, Harris, Ashby, and others. That's the young players as well. But we've still got Callum Wilson's and stuff like that. Murphy's, Gordon's, Harvey Barnes up for sale as well. Um, there's a lot of business to be done. And finally, Aaron Kane, let's stop this nonsense about Isak. He has a contract. Yeah, exactly. There's other players to sell, and they will be sold. He's invaluable to us, and I hope he feels it. I agree with you, Aaron. I agree. But guys, send me in your predictions. We've gone through. We did a match review for the Liverpool game. I was really, really happy about our what we did on the ball, taking risks, hurting our 2-8s, in particular, Joe Linton and Bruno in advanced eights, and Tonali on occasions joining them, but also adding that kind of the amount of players that were up front as well, supporting Gordon, supporting Murphy, supporting Isak, and that's what created a lot of the overloads, but also the shot creating actions. The passing was really, really good. That intensity was really good to see from us as well. And then our fullbacks joining. We were hitting on the left side through Hall in particular, which allowed Gordon to tuck in, and he loves that, where he gets to tuck in, be next to Isak in between Hall as well. Absolutely brilliant from us as well. Reviewed Brentford, who've been very good this season. Second highest goal scorers, and again, have also conceded the most as well. Their goalkeeper has to make more saves than Southampton's goalkeeper, but they create tons of chances as well. They've scored 26 goals. They've scored 27 goals. They've conceded 26, so they're very high risk, high reward type of team. They're on the same points as us with a goal difference, so they're just higher than us because of a goal difference. It's going to be a very tight game, as opposed to us, who've scored 17 goals and conceded 17. When we haven't been as high risk, as high reward as Brentford. Howe is trying to make us a lot more controlled. But I think looking tactically at Brentford, and because they press up so high and they're very intense, which has been rewarding for them. They're fifth highest in terms of winning the ball in the final third. It's going to leave a lot of opportunities for us. For all of Newcastle's faults so far this season, they've been very good in terms of playing out the press, in terms of their approach play. God willing, if they take the same kind of creativity into the final box against Brentford as they did against Liverpool, it could be a very, very long day for Brentford. And I just think that individually, if you put Bruno against Yano, Tonali against Damsgaard, or vice versa, Gordon on the side against Vanderberg, Isak against whoever, Collins, and you get these 1v1, 2v1, 3v2 situations, it's going to really, 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 really hurt a Brentford. And I think because it's such a quick turnaround between the Liverpool game and now, I think it's going to work in Newcastle's favour. I see a lot more goals for Newcastle in that final third, in the transition as it was for Villa. But at the same time, I do think we've been conceding goals as well, so I do think we'll concede. If we keep a clean sheet in this game, it's going to be another feather in our team's hat. But I back Newcastle. I saw someone with the same scoreline as me. I back Newcastle to win this game 3-1. I think Aaron Cape has got the same thing. 3-1. You've got Aaron. You've got 3-1 as well. Gordon with a brace. I've got Gordon, Isak, and do you know what? I'm going to give Isak the 2 goals and Gordon with the 1. I'm going to go opposite you, Aaron. But I back Newcastle to win 3-1.
We will concede, unfortunately, but I back Newcastle to win 3-1. And the final comment here from Ginger Hoskins. Hey Philip, if the club found Isak, maybe Mitchell can find a few strikers to replace. Got to remember he was 22 when we got him. Look at Mitchell's track record. Mane, I think Mane, Son, he'll find another striker, no problem. But guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the show. We did a review of the Liverpool game. We did a tactical breakdown of the Brentford game. I've given my conclusion and my prediction: 3-1 to Newcastle, 2 goals for Isak, 1 goal for Gordon. Aaron Cave has given a 3-1, gone for a 3-1 scoreline as well. He's given Gordon 2 goals, and I'm assuming the other goals to Isak. Maybe you let me know, Aaron. But I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Let's see consistency from Newcastle. I hope we're going to get that consistency. I expect that we will against Brentford. It's going to be a fantastic, fantastic game. And until next time, guys, look after each other and God bless, folks.